what is our eSafety Commissioner doing to our free speech? Really? Julie Inman Grant, government appointed, did make clear 3 years ago that she wanted to perhaps trim our free speech because she didn't like the way we argued.
We have increasing polarization everywhere, and everything feels binary when it doesn't need to be. So I think we're going to have to think about a recalibration of a whole range of human rights that are playing out online, from freedom of speech to the freedom to, to be free from online violence.
And since then, she tried, for instance, to bully X into taking down a video of a Christian bishop in Sydney allegedly being stabbed by a Muslim youth. She lost that one. And another video by a Canadian opposing the appointment of an Australian transgender activist to a World Health Organization panel. But now the Administrative Review Tribunal has given her a bit of a slap. She's savaged the Safety Commissioner for getting X to take down this post.
And in today's edition of Melbourne Doing Melbourne Things, we have a school in Montmorency, that has its own queer club, a primary school, for years 3 to 6. It was signed off by the school's dual principals, and it's facilitated by this lady here, Trish Patsy Munro. Let me make something real clear, Trishy. There is no place for an LGBT club in any school, let alone a primary school.
Well, the Tribunal has now found that Inman Grant's team actually knew that post had not broken any law, yet it's still sent to X's portal designed to take legal demands for takedowns from the government, a message that should really take this down. Maybe, well, look, we'll leave it to you, X. But X obviously interpreted that as a legal order in order to take down a perfectly lawful post, which it did. Join me is Reuben Kirkham, co-founder of the Free Speech Union. Reuben, thanks for coming on. How did the Safety Commission go beyond its legal powers like this? Was this a mistake or is it something else?
Oh, it's not a mistake. She, 99% of the time, issues what she calls informal notices, which are notices that get sent in private to social media companies that she does not have to tell you about. And by doing this, she gets around all the safeguards that exist in the Online Safety Act. She says, oh, it's not a real notice, therefore I don't have to notify you that this exists. Whereas if it was a real notice, you would have the right to appeal to the Tribunal. And as you can imagine, the Tribunal was beyond unimpressed by her particular scheme. If it was correct, the government would never be accountable because they could just say, well, we never really made a decision, we just sent the decision and we took the decision, but we didn't really put a magic formality on it. And it's like, the only reason she does it is because it worked, right? But now it doesn't work anymore because she's got no power to do this. She's got the obligation to notify everyone she censors of their appeal rights. And the approach she takes towards censorship means that every time someone appeals, they're almost bound to certainly to win.
The eSafety Commissioner could have said, if it wanted to, forwarded on complaints to another part of X, which it would have just treated it like, oh, well, this is just, someone alert or whatever. But it sent this to the portal designed for formal government warnings, you had better. That was the issue here. Now, the eSafety Commission said, yes, look, no, that's all we were doing. Just forwarding a complaint from one person, mind you, a post that they thought might have been against X's rules. But on that point, the Tribunal also said, how is that even your job? The Online Safety Act doesn't tell you to do that, and nor do you have any clear criteria which posts you pass on. So it's just down to how some investigator happens to feel. And as you point out, the person whose post you're trying to censor has no right of appeal. What do you make of all that?
Well, it's plainly illegal, right? There's a regime that says you have appeal rights, and her strategy is, she knows that the decisions she makes are very weak, but instead her approach is just not to tell people about them. So X did the right thing and told Celine that this had happened. If this had been another platform, maybe it's even your website being taken down. So, for example, we've seen cases where she's targeted GoDaddy even to try and get people's websites taken down. Then you just find that your post, or more likely your account, had just disappeared and you'd be none the wiser. And obviously this is not what the Australian government had in mind when it passed the Online Safety Act, and the Tribunal was scathing. And one thing I should have mentioned is that this tribunal, it wasn't an ordinary tribunal. This was the first case of a special panel designed to put a stop to things like robo-debt. They took this case out of 50,000 before the tribunal and put it before this special panel headed by a federal court judge. This is not normal. This is something that only happens when a government agency has gone well over what they're supposed to be doing and they're completely misusing their powers and their office.
Well, and that, we really, thank you for reminding me there, Reuben. We really must thank that tribunal. We don't normally see government agencies cut back on government power. This was fantastic. Very important decision. It's about freedom of speech. There aren't many defenders in the bureaucracy. We thank them. But I also want to thank you, Reuben Kirkham, for doing so much to push this case and also spread the word about what's happened, because this is a real danger. Thank you so much for your time.